Hello, alongside Ryan, sir. I'm Don Helbig, and welcome to the Pick Six, the podcast by the Attractions Group, where we bring you the latest stories from the attractions and amusement industry.
Thanks, Don. Before we dive into the pick six today, uh, just a reminder that you can find us on all your favorite podcast apps: Apple, Google, Spotify, etc. Make sure you hit like, share, and subscribe on YouTube as well. Tell an enthusiast friend about us. We'd love to have him as a listener.
All right, well, first up on the Pick Six, we've got the legendary Dolly Parton. She's making waves by bringing her Pirates Voyage dinner and show to the Florida Panhandle in spring of 2025. The new venue will be at the Pier Park in Panama City Beach, promising a spectacular experience. Ryan, I think this is going to be a very popular venue there.
Yeah, I mean, I believe the original one was actually in Myrtle Beach, and then the one I saw in Pigeon Forge was the second one, and I believe this will be the third, but it was a fantastic show. I'm very happy that the people attending will get to do it. Very family friendly.
Yeah, it's drawing rave reviews in Pigeon Forge. So, if you're going to be in that area in 2025 of Florida, Panama City Beach, you're definitely want to check that out. I think it's going to be great, and I think you're going to see it kind of expand to some other areas as well.
Yeah, from what I understand, that it was quite an undertaking building that building. There is water and there's stuff that comes from the ceiling, and it's a full theater experience. So definitely check it out. I'm with you. All right, let's move along. So, story number two. So, we are talking once again about Cincinnati's Coney Island. The park announced a couple weeks ago at this point that it would be closing forever on December 31st at the end of their Night of Lights event. After the conclusion of that event, they will be closing and it will make way for a new music venue. Now, season pass holders are actually going to be refunded for their amount. If you bought a season pass for 2024, you will get a full refund using your original payment method after the new year. Now, individual gift card people, the people that have gift cards, that's where the problem is, because the word from the park is that they want you to use it before the end of the event on the 31st. So it's kind of a little bit of a gray area, Don. What do you think?
Well, it is, and as you mentioned, the pass holders, they're all going to get refunded automatically after New Year's. That's great. The gift cards. What we don't know, because we don't have a copy of the gift card, is does it say on there December 31st? Because if it does, then the park says you got to use it. But if there is no date, by when it has to be used, then I think that's a little bit of a gray area, and I think they should work with those gift card holders and do the right thing and refund them if they do not use it by December 31st.
I agree. And I think that if the gift cards expired on December 31st, this would be a non-issue. I don't think this would have made the news because I don't think anybody would have an argument that I can't use my gift card that expires at the end of December in May when the pool opens. But you're right. I guess it's one of those things where Coney Island has nothing to lose, but why would you want to make your last impression on the city after 100 and something odd years sliding people on gift cards? But I've worked for a company
And
that was bought out and we closed an entertainment venue. And I know it was a huge expense refunding all the gift cards. I mean, for our small operation, it was tens of thousands of dollars, but that was factored into the business decision. Sorry, Don, you had a thought?
no, I was going to say we don't know how many gift cards are out there. Whether that would be a substantial amount or it's just a few hundred people. We don't know. But I would hope, though, they would do the right thing if it is not dated on when they had to use it.
I would hope so too. And honestly, like you're right. It could be a lot of money in gift cards. I don't imagine it is. It's probably six figures, I'd say. But at the same time, I don't care because these gift cards were supposed to be good for however forever or a certain amount of time or whatever. And they knew about this money, they knew about these funds, and they knew that it was going to be a problem. So saying like, hey, you have 10 days to use this or else it's not worth anything, um, doesn't sit well with me. But that's enough about that. What's the next story?
All right, in bittersweet news, after over 50 years, Fire in a Hole at Silver Dollar City is taking its final lap on December 30th. this roller coaster, themed after the 1880s mining town, has been a cherished part of the park's history. So it's always sad when a ride is being retired. But what I liked about what they did is they gave everyone enough time to know that this was coming, and enough time to plan your final visit to take your last rides.
Yeah, I agree. They gave about a year rundown for it, so that was pretty cool. So, I mean, anybody can have the opportunity to go out there and get one last ride on it. Plus, as we found out, that although the ride was retiring, it's not the end of the story because they are going to open Fire in the Hole 2 next year, and I am very interested as to what that's going to look like.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
What what's next?
All right, so let's talk about some SeaWorld. So SeaWorld Orlando is set to tantalize taste buds with the 2024 Seven Seas Food Festival with over 200 culinary offerings, 75 craft beers, and live music. It's a feast for the senses, from global cuisine to local craft beers. It's a journey around the world, blending flavors, coasters, and live performance. SeaWorld is awesome at events, aren't they?
They are, and they're the first ones to really, that we've seen a lot of detail about different festivals they're going to be having in the spring. I like the 200 culinary offerings. Obviously, you're not going to be able to try all of them, but it gives enough variety that there's going to be something for someone in the family at this event. Good choices with the craft beers when you're talking about 75. The live music, they always seem to have a good atmosphere when they bring in live music like that there. Um, I'm excited about this. I'm looking at my calendar and I was trying to figure out, when I might be able to fit this in.
Yeah, I've actually been to a couple of events similar to this. SeaWorld is very underrated with their food. They have very good food, so I really enjoy eating there. And when they have the special events and stuff, it brings a pretty cool energy to the park.
It does, and we've talked about this before, but SeaWorld Orlando, we're talking about all their different events, whether it's Christmas to Halloween, what they're doing here with this event. It kind of gets lost in the shuffle with Disney and Universal right there in their backyard. Down the road, you've got Busch Gardens in Tampa. Um, but I mean, it doesn't really take a back seat to those parks.
No, you're right. I mean, it at the very least sits on the same shelf as those parks because, I mean, SeaWorld overall is a pretty underrated park. I understand that over the past 5 or 6 years, they've made some decisions that were kind of questionable. And I'm not talking about like with the orca whales and stuff, but I'm talking about chatter online with, one train operations on a busy day or whatever. But all that aside, what they have there is a fantastic experience. Beautiful park. I love going there. Um, so yeah, very, very cool. All right, what's next?
All right. Well, 'tis the season for mergers, it seems. In the entertainment industry, Warner Brothers Discovery and Paramount Global are considering a merger. Talks between the leadership of Warner and Paramount are underway, potentially reshaping Hollywood's landscape. So, what were your thoughts when you first heard possible merger here?
Okay, hear me out. So there's
Mm.
all these YouTube videos and internet articles about all these people cut the cable 5 years ago, but now they're paying more because they have all these streaming services. Well, my thought is if all these streaming services
Mm.
merge, maybe that will work because they've still got to compete with each other. So you've got like, let me use another example. So you got Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus. So ESPN Plus for people like you and I, like I really like the sports documentaries and stuff on it. You probably watch more of it than I do because they have like Division 3 football and stuff on it. But that's kind of a throwaway
Mhm.
service. But Hulu and Disney Plus on their own are very attractive. But they made the intention very clear that they intend to fold Hulu into Disney Plus. In fact, on my TV, it asked me to download a new version of Disney Plus that has Hulu as a beta. So the real question is, if you've got, let's say they merge all three of those together, can they still market that as a 19 or $20 subscription? Or is the perception going to be that it's one app and it costs twice as much as everybody else, thus driving the price down? Because I do have Paramount Plus right now. Um, and I had Warner Discovery for a little bit on a free trial for about 6 months. But like, let's say all that content merged together. I mean, do you think this could potentially, at least for the streamers, drive the price down? I know that's not the direction that
Yeah,
that thing was going, but that's my thought with it.
Yeah, I think it would drive it down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's my thought. Now, as far as the content stuff is concerned, I don't care. Like, it's the different intellectual properties, I guess more access to resources and stuff, that could be good, but, um, I know that Warner Discovery, when they merged, that did not go very well, as these mergers have a tendency to do, so this is probably an aftershock from that, but, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Maybe they'll buy the Paramount parks again. They'll be the Warner Brothers parks. Yeah.
All right, what's next?
All right. News from the Milwaukee County Zoo.
I like turtles.
The Board of Supervisors greenlights projects. Uh, Adventure Africa will see a $16 million expansion welcoming rhin- rhinoceroses back to the zoo after a pre-pandemic absence. So we had the word rhinoceroses written, and I could not spit. I was like, "There's no way that's right," because I guess to me it's always been rhinos. Anyway, rhinos will be back to the zoo after a pre-pandemic absence, along with over 1 million in front entrance upgrades. Construction begins in May 2024, promising a renewed experience at the zoo. So that's pretty cool. I'm glad that we're starting to cover the zoos here, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's, zoos, they all have season pass holders, just like the theme parks and amusement parks do. And it's a big part of the attractions industry. So it's good to see uh, a lot of these zoos getting these upgrades that they need and seeing, the pandemic, some of the animals that were in some of the zoos, were taken away. And it's good to see not only here in Milwaukee, but some other places you're seeing the rhinos and that being brought back in. So we're excited about this development. Whenever I'm in a city and I got time, I will check out the zoo. What about you?
Yeah, I think it's really nice. Especially because, as more resources get dumped into zoos, they treat the animals better. They give them more modern amenities and stuff, so they feel like they're in the wild more so than they feel like they're in cages. But you know, they certainly dump a lot. I mean, $16 million. That's a lot of money for any place, any entertainment facility, and this zoo is using it to improve the experience, hopefully draw more people, so they can do further, better conservation work. So good for them.
That's right.
All right. So
Well, that's the pick
yeah,
six. Some good stories there this week.
yeah. So Don, why don't you take the first listener question?
It just comes from Jim Flugel, and he says, just for a little fun, if six voters deny the merger with Cedar Fair, and by six he means Six Flags, what do you think will happen next? Selling of lower performing parks for capital to reduce debt? What other scenarios can you think might happen? Possible merger with SeaWorld? Thoughts and wild thoughts. Ryan, this is right up your alley.
Just a little fun. I like your pun there, Jim. Um, so the merger with Six Flags is out of necessity. So if it got denied by the Six Flags shareholders, what I imagine they'll do is probably come back with a different deal that's just a little bit more lucrative for the shareholders. Um, if it doesn't go through, let's say it's voted down and it's not going to happen, uh, I probably a leverage buyout, so some sort of private equity situation where, you see your Blackstones, your Apollo Global Management, somebody like that coming in and making a purchase and then cutting costs or whatever, and then spinning it off and making it its own chain again. Um, what do you see, Don?
I see it wouldn't be good
Mhm.
if it doesn't go through. I think they almost have to find a way to make it work. I agree with you that you'd see one of those other, equity firms and that coming in to make an offer for, one or both of the chains. You would see some parks being, sold off, I think, to reduce the debt. It's always interesting to see things like a possible merger with SeaWorld. I think that to me would fall under those wild thoughts. I think that would be very interesting if that would be who they ended up, partnering with, merging with, being acquired by, any of those kind of things that fit in there. Um, but I think at this point, they've put it out there that they're trying to work on a merger and all that, and that seems to make the most sense right now for both Six Flags and Cedar Fair. And I think if it goes through, it's going to be a very good thing. for both chains. It's going to be, beneficial for the guest in a lot of ways. But yeah, Jim, just a little fun, right?
Yeah, Jim. Thanks for. I'm not going to sleep tonight because of you, Jim. Now, so you brought up something interesting, like a merger with SeaWorld. And SeaWorld was going to merge with Six Flags, and yeah, we've heard this story before. Okay, what do you think would happen if SeaWorld and Cedar Fair merged? Do you think that Kings Island and Cedar Point would look like SeaWorld in the end?
I don't. I don't. I think they would still, have their own identities in that. I think it would just be, they're all just part of the company. It's almost like the Schlitterbahn parks, when they were purchased by Cedar Fair. I think it'd be something like that.
See, I see it negatively because it, like you got SeaWorld that does, like SeaWorld Orlando does about 7 million people a year. So all of a sudden, if you put it to scale, Kings Island becomes Worlds of Fun to them, like mid to lower tier. And then Michigan's Adventure is a parking lot to them, you know? So I don't think it would be a good thing. I don't think necessarily that they would try to bring animals to the other parks and stuff. And really they haven't. Like at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, they haven't really tried to do that to my knowledge. Uh,
No.
but I I think that a merger of equals with Six Flags could be very interesting because you're going to have the same kind of weight because there's nobody that's like super standoutish. That I mean, you've got your Magic Mountains, which probably does rather well, and then Fiesta Texas does rather well. But by rather well, I think it's in the 3 to 4 million range as far as attendance is concerned. But it's not like you would be the little guy compared to the 365-day a year park. So that would be my concern with that. The merger thing will be interesting because how this goes for the guests, I think, is going to be very reliant on what the
Mhm.
financial situation is going to look like after the merger. Ultimately, they're going to save money, but what are the next 3 to 5 years going to look like? Is my concern. Uh, are they get? I mean, mergers are expensive, and there's a lot of costs involved, and so on. So, do they cut a bunch of budgets? Do they cut operating days and stuff to make it through the next few years before they start realizing these uh, cost savings? I mean, I just don't know. So,
Yeah, I mean, it certainly can't be full speed ahead, you wouldn't think, going into 2025. I mean, there would have to be some things to reduce, the cost. And like you mentioned, is it operating days? Is it, cutting some special events? Is it not opening, a select number of restaurants and rides? Just whatever it may be to reduce the overhead and the cost, that's going to happen. But it's not a fun thing when you're talking about mergers and different acquisitions like that for anybody that's involved, whether you're, working for a park or you're a pass holder, or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of unknowns that that are out there. So, just not a fun time for a lot of people right now. But I do think, if the merger does go through, once it happens, I think at the end of the day, it will be positive for everybody.
the horizon will be positive.
Right, right.
I th-
For the guests, it's going to be but I mean everybody. I mean the guests. It's going to be a very good, thing for you. It brings new opportunities, as we've talked about on the podcast before. There's different synergies and things like that. But the next few months, it's just going to be interesting, and just it's going to be quite a ride.
right. And I mean, when it comes down to it, you get a lot of people. We stick around Cedar Fair people for the most part who think that all or all Six Flags parks, like no restaurants are open, the rides are closed, one train operation. I bet the Six Flags people that are only exposed to Six Flags believe that about Cedar Fair too. But what I will tell you is that probably the operation of your home park won't be terribly different. It's not going to be like we're Six Flags, one train operation, because that's insane.
No, not at all.
It's going to be whatever makes sense at the time. And again, if you're Cedar Point and they're running one train and people are like, this is miserable, I'm not coming back, like they're going to adjust based on that. So if people are used to a certain level of service, they can't stray from that too far before they start feeling it themselves.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you're right. Ultimately, there's going to be a net gain. I mean, anytime that, I mean, what Dennis Spiegel was saying, like napkins will be cheaper, forks will be cheaper. When we're talking about like 30 properties, I mean, that's millions of dollars. That's millions of
It
dollars they
is.
can put into events and hardware and technology and people and stuff to ultimately make it better. It's just a matter of who's going to be helming this in 5 or 6 years that decides which direction the ship is going. Fortunately, you have some of the best theme park industry people in the world involved with this.
Hmm. You do.
Cool. All right. So another question then from Rob Fravor, and we've addressed this before, but Rob's a good guy, so we'll address it again. Question for Don: if Kings Island puts on another coaster stock type event, would you attend?
Would I attend? Well, as everyone knows, coaster stock is immensely popular. It sells out, last couple of years, less than 10 minutes. So high demand. A lot of people want to go. They bank on going. They're stressed out about being able to get their tickets, that their friends get their tickets. Just a lot of things. When I was involved with it, that's what I, didn't like. Just knowing how, people were almost to the point they were sick to their stomach, wondering if they were going to get the tickets, type of thing. That's not, something that I was excited about with that. But yeah, but there is a demand. And the way I would see it is this, Rob: if I bought a ticket, that means that somebody who maybe has gone for 3, 4, 5, maybe every year of coaster stock, maybe I bumped them out. Maybe someone's friend couldn't go because I bought a ticket. So I know how much this event means to a lot of the coaster enthusiasts. So I would not want to be someone that took someone's spot. And when there's only a limited number of tickets out there, that would be the case. Somebody that wanted to go couldn't because I did. At the same time, I'd love to see everybody. A lot of the coaster stock attendees. I've become good friends with them. I keep in touch with them. I see them at other parks. Saw a lot of them at places I went this summer. Holiday World, Kennywood, Dollywood. When I was at Busch Gardens, Virginia. So I ran into a number of the coaster stock attendees at all these parks, and that's what it was always. So on that end, I'd love to see everybody, but I don't want to steal someone's spot.
So you'd be open to it. Let's say like it's a different universe. It's 2 days before the event, still tickets available. We're not at a hard no yet.
Well, I mean, that's a little bit different if it was one of those things where there were still tickets available at the last minute, right before the event started. But, when it's selling out in under 10 minutes, the demand's there. I don't think that demand's going to go away. And I would feel that somebody got left out if I bought a ticket.
Yeah, honestly, that was kind of how I felt in the later years of it and stuff. I went uh
Mm.
the Ride Warrior weekend, and then I went to the first year of Coaster Stock. And then the second year, I remember I was because I mean, and obviously Coaster Stock's a great event. It's very popular. Um, but if you've been around a long time, like you've done a bunch of Beast tours. I remember doing Beast tours with you during the Susan G. Komen days when people would pay like $50 to
Yeah.
do the Beast tour, and I would be talking to you, but let's just go. So to me, it was like the first year I went full bore. The second year I kind of like went like just Saturday night or something, and then at that point I started feeling like there's somebody that would appreciate it a lot more than me that has never gotten to do this stuff. So that's why I stopped attending. I'm not against
Hmm.
going at all, but it's just a matter of there's a lot of people very gung ho about it. And for me to take one of their spots, I wouldn't want to do that as it stands now.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I feel that in my travels next summer, it'll be like this year where I have an opportunity to run into a lot of the coaster enthusiasts that attend this event. Whether I'm at the parks I mentioned, like Holiday World, Dollywood, Kennywood, Busch Gardens, Virginia, even Busch Gardens, Tampa, wherever it may be. That I'm gonna see people, um, but just not all in that one setting.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, great question, Rob. Hey, it's the end of another Pick Six, and it's the end of 2023. So if you haven't listened to the first section, want to reiterate, we want you guys to have a very happy new year. And we'll be back next week, first week of 2024, for some great episodes. Alongside Don Helbig, I'm Ryan Sir, and Happy New Year to you.